All right, we're going to get started. I tell you, there's nothing like Southern California morning to get you going. It's gorgeous out there. Wonderful. Today is a great example of the importance of our next speaker. This afternoon, you guys will be doing some sightseeing on coaches. Tonight, we'll be taking to an off-site venue on coaches. And you yourselves, the planners in the room, are probably using coaches at your conferences, meetings, special events. And there is a federal agency, the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration, that oversees all of the coaches in the country. And there's no charge to you. You simply get on a website and learn about the safety of any company that you're working with. So it's really easy to use and really very valuable to use. And Greg Namens is here to share a little bit about that. So join me in welcoming Greg Namens to the podium.
All right. Well, good morning, everyone. Thanks for that great intro, Mac. I met a lot of new faces in just the last couple of days here, and I want to say hello and a shout out to those folks. And some of you, I recognize a lot of familiar faces as well. So, you know, they say learning is repetition. So for those of you who have heard our message of safety in the past, I think this is a good thing to reiterate the need to revisit some of those considerations. And for those of you who are new with us and haven't maybe done this before, we welcome you and hope that you will be inspired to make what we're about to show you a part of your due diligence when you're considering hiring coach operations for whatever outing that your organization might be sponsoring. Matt has already explained who we are as the Federal Motor Carrier, so I'm just going to touch on the agenda today. We'll touch a little bit about what's at stake for safety, who we are, what we do, and most importantly, what you need to do and how you go about doing that, and that is looking before you book every trip, every time. I'll sound like a broken record by the end of this convention, but hopefully you'll understand and appreciate the need for that truism when we near the conclusion of this convention. Please feel free to stop by and speak with us if we don't have you on our agenda. We'd be happy to share any information that we have and any words of wisdom that can help. I want to give a special shout out to my associate, Brian Ronk, who is also with me here today. There he is. Thank you, Brian. And he's going to be coming around with me and working with me to share and preach the gospel of safety, if you will. All right. So the first thing is, what's the things to think about in making the case for safety? It kind of speaks for itself, obviously, when the unfortunate consequence of an accident happens. We all are very much aware of that, and we can see what that can cost. So buckle up is a pretty easy reach. If there's seatbelts on board that vehicle, we highly encourage you and all of your associates to make use of them. There are statistics that would bear out the virtue of doing that. And so we would highly encourage you again to have your people make use of seatbelts when they're available. Know and understand the safety information, and that goes to things that you might not always think about, but that are out there for you at our website. Things like the insurance, how much is required, and how much is on file the very day for the carrier you're thinking of. You can find this information out on our website. Do they have operating authority, and what the heck is it? What about the safety fitness rating and basics, something that we'll be talking about and explaining. So just wanted to give you a preview of coming attractions on that information. So who we are is the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration. We're a division of the United States Department of Transportation. That means you as a taxpayer, and frankly myself as well as a taxpayer, some of our tax dollars go toward all programs of the federal government, this one included. So in essence, you've already paid for the information that's out here for you. What you need to do is learn how to come out and avail yourself of the information, and it is free. Well, free in the sense that it doesn't cost you anything other than the taxes you may have paid over the years, but the time, of course, that you spend on this as due diligence is certainly worth something. So it does cost you that. But it's the kind of payment and debt that you can put into this, and investing in it could save lives. That's pretty good stuff for the price. Our mission is to prevent crashes, damage, and fatalities, most of all. We regulate the commercial bus industry, among other things, but passengers are our most precious commodity, the cargo that speaks back, as we say. All right, so some of the things to think about. Operating authority, which is something that every carrier that provides interstate transportation must have and can only get through our organization. We can also take that away if and when it's necessary. We don't like to do that. And if it is taken away or operating authority is revoked, it can be restored if the carrier demonstrates that they can get back on track and requalify the safety concerns that were raised, whether it's the vehicle, the driver, or record keeping, or their operation overall. All right, so insurance is another important thing. For coaches, those are always going to be 16 or more passenger, including the driver. It doesn't matter if it's full or not, but if that vehicle is equipped to haul 16 or more passengers, it needs $5 million of insurance, or the carrier operation that has motor coaches needs that amount of insurance. For a carrier who may only have 15 or fewer passenger vehicles out there in its fleet, there's a lower threshold of $1.5 million, and that's the minimum federal amount of insurance that's required. I talked a little bit about BASICS, which is an acronym that is used a lot in government, are acronyms, of course, and the behavior analysis and safety improvement categories are called BASICS. We're going to look at an example of what that means, but it basically gives you an idea of a snapshot of how the carrier is doing in terms of vehicle maintenance and driver. They have inspections that they have of the driver's blood tests and random alcohol and drug testing, things of that nature. Record-keeping requirements, overall driver safety behavior out there. It's all measurable stuff. And it's done in cooperation with our brothers and sisters out there in law enforcement. Probably around 60% of our annual budget goes to the states in forms of grants. And we provide training to usually the state troopers. They aggregate the data at roadside stops or destination stops. So all the inspections and the things that they find with vehicles, drivers, and our own inspections at the carrier facilities are aggregated into data that becomes available to you. So as you can see, here's an illustration of perhaps a roadside stop on your left. The vehicle might be placed out of service, or even the driver. It just depends if they're beyond their hours of allowable service, things of that nature. Down below, you'll see an illustration of what we call the BASICS that I referred to. We've purposely put together one of the orange triangles in the center one under vehicle maintenance, just as an illustration to you of what that might look like. It doesn't place the carrier operation out of service, but it alerts you, it alerts the carrier, and it alerts our organization and law enforcement that this carrier is having issues in that particular BASIC. It's not based on just one particular stop or problem or issuance of a citation in that area. This would be a period of 2 years of aggregated data in which repeated problems arose in that particular BASIC. So that's something to really pay attention to when you're making an informed safety decision as a consumer of a potential carrier's services. All right, beyond that, our own organization goes to the carrier facility itself. We conduct an inspection of not only their vehicles and driver records, but all of the other records and reporting requirements that are part of the federal agency's safety indicators. We can look for a satisfactory rating of a carrier, and that's the very best. A conditional rating would indicate that there have been some problems and issues, not enough to place them out of service. And the one you never want to see is the UNSAT, which does place the carrier operation out of service until they make corrections to whatever part of the issues have arisen and created that UNSAT rating. So now what you need to do is look before you book, come and find these data that we explain to you. There's an easy way to do that by coming to our public website illustrated there at www.fmcsa.dot.gov. We have information that will remind you about that, so you won't have to write it down. The program that we have on our website is currently unavailable, where you could plug in the size of a vehicle, for example, that you were looking for, and it would illustrate all of the known carriers registered with us to allow you to make a choice among several options. Unfortunately, that is not functioning right now. We are working to restore that application, and we are updating our website to make it much easier to facilitate searches for safety. I've got about 1 minute left just to tell you that if you come to our website, you can easily just plug in that carrier name or DOT number. You'd want to ask them what that is, and in this case you'd be searching for a carrier whose name and DOT number preferably you knew. Plug it in, it pulls up that information right when you enter it there, and it all on one page provides you information about their rating, the licensing and insurance to get you to the insurance amount, and if there were issues with some of the basics, you'd see an illustration like these orange triangles demonstrate. There's a page that illustrates the insurance, the amount that's required of the carrier, and the amount that's on file. We want to thank you and encourage you to look before you book. Here's an easy way to remember the process to do that by way of illustration.
When you're planning a bus trip, you choose a great destination and exciting activities. And your passengers look forward to a relaxing ride and an affordable travel option. But whether you're a travel planner or chartering a bus for sports activities, whether you're traveling by bus for a field trip or booking for a special group activity, planning your own road trip, or a weekend trip, passenger safety is the most important part of any trip. Luckily, it's fast and easy to learn more about bus safety online at FMCSA's Look Before You Book page. You'll find safety tips and information, convenient tools to research bus operators, and information on reporting safety violations. Online, you can search by bus company name or DOT number and research bus operator safety records anywhere. Check for legal bus operation and safety history, like company violations, driver fitness, drug testing, and vehicle maintenance. Visit www.fmcsa.gov and take a minute to look before you book. Have a great time and stay safe out there.